Okay, so I think I'm live. There's a lot of things on here. Let's see here. So this is the interior measurements of the Great Pyramid. Here you can see where the entrance is, right here, where the red arrow is. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but maybe I can highlight it. Let's see, draw. So here's the entrance to the Great Pyramid. And you come down here, and this is where the Exodus is, marked by inches. And you go up here, and this is where the Christ triangle is, marks 33 AD. And then when you go up here, you reach the Great Step and the King's Passageway. So there's a close-up of that, a little bit. Now, this is the Great Step here. And you see the red line shows where they were measuring right through the granite. And I decided, what if I measure up and over like that? So this step measures about 35 pyramid inches in height, and I guess 60.9 inches along the top. And then this, let's see, here we go. So this is the standard way to measure it. 1 pyramid inch equals 1 year for this section up to the arrow here. And so that gives you, in the first low passageway, 1942, which we all know is the Second World War. And then when you get to the floor change here, you change your scale to 1 inch equals 30 days. And that gives you a start date of 2007 and an end date of 2024, which I don't believe is the furthest out date. That's just a, guesstimate. So then you can see that this time period is 8 years. So it's an interesting perspective. So now, looking at these measurements, they add up to 365 inches. If you measure the floor of the Great Pyramid, the King's Passageway here is 330 inches, and the step itself is 35 inches up. So that gives you 365 inches. Now, this circle measures a solar tropical year. The Great Pyramid is just rife with measurements of the solar tropical year and other things that have to do with that. So let's see here. This is 10 million sacred cubits, measures half of the diameter of the earth. And 500 million geometrical inches would be the full diameter of the entire earth, the ancient sacred cubit. And it's this, what they call the boss on the granite leaf. It's the opposite of being embossed. It's raised. So this is the key to the scientific revelation here. And so the inch basically defines the entire earth, and the meters were off because they only measured from the equator up to the North Pole. And that's why the meters fall short. But that's kind of a side story, sidestep. Getting back to the passageway, this was a thought I had. So this measures up to 365 inches from the bottom here, going up and all the way across to the King's Chamber. 365 inches. So what if each inch equaled a week? That was my question. What would happen? Basically produced a 7-year timeline because I'm multiplying by 7. So let's look at that in more detail. This one may be too complicated. Yeah, so you have, well, what happened? What happens is you have 2,311 days along the top, from there all the way over to here. So that's defining, could this 2,300 days be 2,300 Daniel's days? I think so. And so what that you can see in this chart I have right here, so you have 7 years, you have this extra 250 days. That's over the 2,300. So that would be equivalent to the Great Step. And then that would define this whole passageway as Daniel chapter 8, because it defines the 2,300 days. So these are just some of my charts and figures and things. Probably not going to go through all this. I don't even know if you can see it, because I can't really see what I'm showing you. I can't see your comments because I'm just in my program here. So let's see, I got the prophetic factor of 7 days. That scale is used, this is revealed, basically. Like if you say this pyramid inch equals 30 days, you're not going to get this pattern. If you say the pyramid inch equals a year, you're going to come out to be like 2,300 some odd year over here, and we would be absolutely nowhere near to the end. So, or if you change, like where the floor changes here to 1 inch equals 30 days, then you come out with about 2024, which is very similar to what you come out with this one. So that is what I wanted to show you. I hope charts were interesting or helpful, and if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to try to figure out if there's any questions. I don't see any. I think I'm still streaming. It says I'm still streaming and 6 people are watching. Okay. I don't know if I can switch to my face or not. That is tricky. Let's see. I kind of see what I was sharing. Yeah, so the pyramid defines a 2,311 days. Now granted, it's 11 more days, but in scripture there's an 11 days in Deuteronomy. So if you turn to Deuteronomy chapter 1, you can hear about the 11-day journey. I just thought this was interesting because, you know, they're in the wilderness, they're ready to get out of the wilderness. Deuteronomy 1 verse 2. There are 11 days journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And in verse 3, Deuteronomy 1 verse 3, it says, and it came to pass in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moses spake unto the children of Israel, according to all that the Lord had given him. So he would actually speak through this whole month, all the way to the 12th month, and then they would go into the promised land. So the 11th month, basically, if you look at this 330 inches here, I'll highlight it. 330 inches is 11 months in 1 year. If you have 7 years, then it would be 7 sets of 11 months. But because we have the Great Step here, what it's doing is it's dividing off in a 7-year timeline 1 month. Well, in a 7-year timeline, it's dividing off 250 days. And each year you would have 11 months on this scale. It was because this would be 330 is 11 times 30. So it's definitely a lot of 11s. And even in the longer time span of 2,300 years, you have the perfection of the Metonic cycle. So you have 11 times 11 times 19. And that perfects the Metonic cycle after 2,300 years. So Daniel was given this. He was the wisest in all the land. He knew exactly when the sun and the moon would come back in their cycles and be equal again. Period of time. So I'm going to click back here to the live. I don't know if I can turn my sharing off. Maybe I can. Let's just... Oh, there it is. I'm going to try to turn the sharing